Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again, and welcome to The Roads with Belle. Today is May 4th, 2025, and this is episode 89 of The Roads Not Taken, which is a weekly series where we go over the news that was unreported, underreported, didn't get the coverage we thought it deserved, or we just found it interesting. Then we go through a few questions from y'all. Today is May 4th, and may the 4th be with you. It's National Star Wars Day. And on this date in 1970, Kent State happened. And just a quick announcement before we get started. If you're a Patreon member, sorry about all the notifications early yesterday morning. We're setting up regional chats, and we had no idea that everybody was getting blasted with notifications. Obviously, we're planning on upping our Patreon game, but I'll try not to blow up your phone in the middle of the night again. And we got a couple of questions about why they were being set up. We're coming into an era where knowing people in your area will be important. This might help for those moments when it's just us. Okay, on to the news. And starting with foreign policy. Radio Free Asia has announced mass layoffs amid a funding dispute with the Trump administration. American soft power continues to decline. The U.S. is reportedly putting together a new package of sanctions on Russia. It's unclear right now if Trump is actually serious about putting them into force or if it's a bluff. Tensions between India and Pakistan reached a point where civilians in some areas are being advised to store food and supplies in case of fighting. Reminder, both countries are nuclear powers. The U.S. and Iran are working on a nuclear deal. The joke among insiders is that it's JCPOA 2, meaning that Trump's deal is essentially the same as the one he ended. Jokes about copying somebody else's homework are common. Glad we wasted years of progress. In other news, Trump threatens sanctions against countries that buy oil from Iran. I'm sure that will help with the talks. Israel conducted a series of strikes in Syria. The CIA launched a new video campaign to inform Chinese officials of their options. In other words, there's a video campaign aimed at turning Chinese officials. Trump lost both the Canadian and Australian elections. Mexico has declined to accept Trump's offer of sending U.S. troops south to fight the cartels. Jokes about Trump's foreign policy being based on decades-old movies have led to a widespread belief that Operation Reciprocity might still take place if Acting Deputy Director Ryan can get the funding approved by convincing Senator Mayo that there will be no troops. In U.S. news, despite all of the chaos and claimed cuts over Trump's first 100 days, the federal government actually spent over $200 billion more than the same period last year. Trump released his budget plan. It contains a lot of cuts to benefit American citizens and has billions more for the military. We'll be diving into this on the main channel this week. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz is out and reportedly being shuffled over to the UN ambassador's position. Secretary of State Rubio will add National Security Advisor to his list of jobs. Reporting says United is canceling flights to Newark over FAA staffing. The Pentagon's IG has reportedly expanded the investigation into signal use. In cultural news, Trump has said the government will revoke Harvard's tax-exempt status. This will trigger massive court battles. SecDef Hegseth's attempt to portray himself as just one of the troops is falling flat with the troops. We'll probably dive into this as well this week. The short version is they're calling it the VetBro Pentagon. That's really, really bad. Maine's governor is saying they took on Trump and won after the administration halted efforts to free school funding. Press freedom is now so low in the U.S., it is now falling into the problematic category. Trump posted an image of himself depicted as the Pope. Catholics are understandably upset. In science news, Trump's budget calls for big cuts to NASA projects impacting Artemis, which is the return to the moon. That means NASA would rely on private companies. I wonder who benefits from that. I wonder if it would be Trump's biggest political donor. About a quarter of NOAA forecast offices don't have a meteorologist in charge. This will critically harm weather forecasting used to prevent loss of life and mitigate damage. After Trump fired everybody working on the official National Climate Report, private organizations have announced they will publish their work. In economic news, U.S. manufacturing contracted again in April. Reminder that the manufacturing sector makes up just over 10% of our economy. U.S.-Japanese trade talks ended without a resolution. Tesla sales reportedly fell slightly more than 80% in Sweden. Trump shrugged off recession concerns, saying it would be okay in the long term. In oddities, an Australian father and son reportedly rescued a stranded great white shark that was stuck in the shallows. I'm going to be honest, that exceeds my commitment to preserving nature. I'm glad those guys were there, but there is exactly zero chance that I would do that. Great whites are not friend-shaped. Reporting says Trump was duped by altered images of a deported man's knuckles. The edited tattoos supported his position, so he wanted to believe them. Confirmation bias at work. Okay, on to the Q&A. I've heard for many years that the first year of a president's economy should actually be attributed to the last guy. I even recall it being said on this channel in the past. I don't have to think hard to connect the modern economic struggles to Trump and company's actions/policies. But if I had to explain it to someone, I'd struggle to explain how Biden isn't to blame, since the Trump admin is still so new, relatively. How can we reconcile that somehow everything currently is Trump's fault, whereas in many administrations past, the first 100 days were so often considered the predecessor's economic policies? Is Biden somehow more to blame? Under normal circumstances, it takes a while for a president's economic policies to show. Sometimes 2 years if they're careful. However, before Trump took office, we talked about how the economy was still recovering from Trump's first term and COVID. It wasn't on stable footing. So any stressors were going to show really quickly. But beyond that, this is how you demonstrate it to other people. Look at the stock or the bond market fluctuations, the ups and downs. Anytime there's a giant swing, take a look at that date's news. You'll see these are reactions to Trump's policies. That's the clearest way to show it. Why aren't Army vets mad that Trump is forcing them to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Army's founding on his birthday? I'm a Marine, and that would pee me off if he did it to us. So, right now, most outlets are trying to get rage clicks about this. But for once, Trump isn't being as narcissistic as he's known to be. Both Trump and the Army have June 14th as their birthday. It's weird to have the parade the way he's planning, but the dates aren't the issue. The Army also doesn't celebrate the way Marines do. November 10th, right? I wasn't a Marine, but I know a lot of Marines. They make it a thing that everybody around them knows that date. I also want to thank you for saying pee me off. Again, I know a lot of Marines, and I know that you censored that for my benefit, or at least the channel's benefit. So thank you for that. I had a question after briefly looking through the Constitution again. The Republican Party has sandbagged any attempt to stop these tariffs originally by claiming that no legislative days are actually passing for the purposes of tariffs. That seems like it's against Article 1, Section 5 of the Constitution, right? Neither house during the session of Congress shall, without the consent of the other, adjourn for more than 3 days, nor to any other place than that which the two houses shall be sitting. Did they get senatorial consent? I can't seem to find that. That might be a gimmick to try to end their gimmick. But the problem is that the Democratic Party doesn't have the votes in either house to push it. Why didn't America build the factories first, hire workers to build the products, and slowly transition the tariffs with American products to prop up demand? The simplest answer here is that we don't have a state-directed economy. Many of Trump's actions would make sense in a state-directed economy. Governments don't build the factory. Corporations do. Historically, the blending of government and corporate power is really bad. So, that looks like it. A little more information, a little more context, and having the right information will make all the difference. Y'all have a good day.